Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to part 2 of the webinar for Microsoft Teams in Education. So this is a collaboration between Microsoft, Hartland International School and NLCS Dubai. Thank you for joining us. Now, before we start, there will be, one second. Before we start, there will be an announcement made by one of our presenters in the Q&A section of the live event, and that will be an opportunity for you to tell us. You can reply directly to that announcement rather than making additional posts. You can reply directly to that and tell us what you want to get from today's session, what you'd like to take away from it. So the Q&A section is a place where we can interact. You can ask questions throughout the presentations. Some of us will answer them live, or we may come back to them at the end of the webinar itself. Today's webinar is due to last 60 minutes, so we're going to really do our best to keep to that time. If you're on Twitter, you're an educator that uses Twitter, please tag us. We'll post our Twitter handles shortly, and use the hashtags TeamsTips101 and the hashtag Microsoft Edu, okay, EDU at the end there, and that way we can keep this conversation going with the wider world. So this webinar, what makes it different and unique, that it has been planned and it will be delivered by both teachers and Microsoft specialists, and that's so we know and we think we know what teachers want. So hopefully the presentation is going to be purposeful and useful to you, and you can take it away and use the things you learned today in your classroom tomorrow morning, enhancing the experience of you as a teacher and your students in the online learning process. So just to be clear as well, this is a follow-up to Teaching Through Teams 101, a webinar we did a few weeks ago. We had 264 educators join us there, which was great, and then many more have watched the recording afterwards. In that session, we covered a lot of the basic functions of Teams and the key tools that you would need as a teacher. So if this is the first time you're joining us, you might be wanting to get some of the basics. You can watch that recording back, and I'll post a link. It's on the DXBPE YouTube channel. So I'll post a link on the Q&A as well, so you can watch that back in your own time. This webinar will also be recorded and posted shortly over the coming days. So again, if the presenters are going fast, it's because we're trying to keep to that hour's time, but you will be able to watch it back and pause and things like that later on. So today's session will delve into more advanced features of Microsoft Teams for Education. This will include popular tips and tricks and the latest updates and tools you might not know about that you should be using or could be using. Something called Immersive Reader, marking and feedback, which many of us teachers know a lot about, but how you can do that efficiently through Teams, and then add-ons and whole school initiatives delivered through Teams. So I'll introduce the panelists. You'll meet them later when they come to present, but we have Mr. Basil Ajlani he's an Education Solutions Specialist at Microsoft. We also have Mr. Neil Statham. He's a senior teacher at Hartland International School. You can contact Neil at Neil Statham on Twitter as well. I'm sure he'll post. And Mr. Matthew Dunn, the head of computer science at North London Collegiate School, Dubai. I haven't introduced myself. My name is Ed Mosley. I'm the head of PE at North London Collegiate School, Dubai, and also the professional development coordinator for DASA, which is the Dubai affiliated school sport association. So these professional development webinars came about through a group of PE teachers, but we've now branched out and looking further abroad to all educators. So now I'm going to hand over, I'll just get it ready. I'm going to hand over to Basil from Microsoft, and Basil will deliver his presentation. Over to you, Basil. Basil, you're muted.
Of course, I'm sorry. So my name is Basil Ajlani. I am the Education Solutions Specialist for the UAE. a lot of you may already know me. I've been working with a lot of different schools in the UAE for quite some time. And in today's session, we're going to, as Neil mentioned, as Ed mentioned, we're going to be going through some of the tips and tricks that you might not know of that will help you in maybe using Teams in a way that's a little more helpful and interacting with students in a way that might be a little advanced. So first thing, I am going to go through things a little bit quickly due to time constraints, but this meeting, again, as mentioned earlier, will be recorded, so you can always access the recording at a later point in time. Okay, so let's begin. So first thing I wanted to go through is a feature in Teams that many people might not know of, which is called saved messages. So in Teams, there's a lot of times where you have multiple different teams, maybe 10, maybe 15 teams, and a lot of messages get posted here and there. Some maybe which you would like to keep flagged for later access. I do the same when I'm using my Outlook or my email through Outlook. You have a message, maybe you don't have time to go through it right now. You want to keep it available for later, or maybe it's an important message you need to keep available for access later on, so you can go back and refer to it. So Teams has a system called saved messages, which allows you to save your messages, and then not just your messages, but any message posted anywhere within Teams, whether it's the chat part or it's something posted within an actual team, and it allows you to access all these saved messages at a later point in time. So in order to use this feature, let's say you find a message such as this one, which you would like to save. Let's say this is an important announcement and it has a link for you to fill a form, and you don't have time right now, you need to access it later. So to do that, you just hover your mouse over the message itself, click on the triple dot menu on the top right of the page, and then click on save this message, which is the first option. So this will add this message immediately to your saved messages. You can see a small notification on the top right that this message is saved. And it'll add it within kind of like a list of messages. So for you to access this list of messages a little later on, you can click on your icon at the top right of the screen, and you'll see a button called Saved. So clicking on this button will take you to a list of all the messages that you've saved in all the different conversations or in all the different teams. So if I, for example, click on this one, it'll open that same thread with that message directly there. If I open this one, for example, it'll open that thread with that message directly there, so I can refer to it at a later point in time. So this feature just helps you in, again, saving messages, keeping them for reference later on. And after you're done with this message, you can always click on this triple dot menu and then unsave this message, and it will be removed from your saved list after that. So this is something that we use all the time in Microsoft because a lot of people are starting to use Teams in a similar way that they use email, and that reduces from your email, from your reliance on email, and turns you into something which is a lot more engaging and a lot more quick to go through, such as Teams. So this is the first kind of option I wanted to go through. Going through the second feature I wanted to go through is Immersive Reader. Now, a lot of you may already know Immersive Reader, a lot of you may not. I'm going to go through it regardless, but even for those of you who know Immersive Reader, I'll show you some places where you might not have expected to see it, but it's still available there. What Microsoft is trying to do is we're trying to take Immersive Reader and put it in as many places as we can, because we know that a lot of students, a lot of teachers, especially students that have difficulty in reading a certain language or learning difficulties in general, dyslexic students and whatnot, it'll help them in kind of reviewing that content. So I have a document here. As we mentioned, I think in the first session, Teams kind of doubles up as a OneDrive application. So if I go to Files, I can go to my OneDrive directly from here, and I can access my OneDrive as if I have it open online on the browser. So you don't even need to open a browser and sign in to access your OneDrive there. So for this example, I'm just going to open any document. Just so you know, the feature which I'm going to show you exists on any document, any Word document that you open through Teams, or any OneNote document as well. So it's available in all those different apps. Let's delete this part. Okay. So Immersive Reader is available under the View tab within Word Online. So if I click on View, you'll see that you have a button here called Immersive Reader, and as soon as I click on this button, it changes the interface of Word to allow me to read the content on the page in a way that's a lot easier. It also allows me to listen to a hearing of, or to a reading of this content that I have on the screen directly from within the browser itself. So just as an example, I have this page open up in front of me. I'm not sure, I don't think I've enabled system audio when I shared my presentation here, so you might not be able to hear this, but if you try this on your device and you click on play down here below, you'll be able to hear kind of like a reading of whatever is written on the page. So if I click this, okay, so this basically reads the whole passage for you. Now, this is just one feature of Immersive Reader, but I think where Immersive Reader really shines is the three different buttons on the top right. So the first button is called Text Preferences, and clicking on this button will allow you to change a lot of the ways in which you view the text in front of you. So first thing you have, of course, text size, which you can make bigger or smaller. Second is you have increased spacing. So a lot of students find it very difficult to read, words if they're kind of bundled up together, if there's not a lot of space between the words. Increased spacing basically increases the space between the words and the space between lines. So if I click on this, you'll see that it kind of stretches it out a little bit so that it's easier to kind of read and follow through. You can, of course, change the fonts. You can change the colors within the screen. This, of course, completely depends on your preference or a student's preference, depending on what they find easier on their eyes. So that is the first page, which is text preferences. The second page is grammar. So a lot of students, especially when they're reading big words, have a little bit of a difficulty in reading the words together. So there is a feature called syllables, which allows you to break the text down into different syllables. So if I'm going through this piece of text and I break it down into syllables, you see that it breaks photosynthesis into photosynthesis. So it breaks it down into syllables to allow the student to read it a little bit easier. And that kind of makes it, a little bit more readable for them. You, of course, have a few other options, such as parts of speech, nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. And what's nice about this is you don't have to go into the text and, as a teacher and write down, this is a noun, this is a verb, this is an adjective, this is an adverb. It does it automatically. And you can even click on show labels, which shows very clearly above the word that this is a noun. Nouns are in purple. This is a verb. Verbs are in red. This is an adjective. Adjectives are in green. And this is an adverb. Adverbs are in yellow. So it helps students kind of write their own passages and then be able to kind of go through it and highlight that, okay, so this is where a noun is, this is where a verb is, and it kind of helps them in understanding what is a verb and what is a noun. So these are the grammar options. You can turn these on or off, of course, and students accessing this from their device from within Teams can actually go through this and turn these on or off themselves. Of course, this might help them a little in homework assignments that you give them, but we believe that if they practice with this enough, it'll become second nature to them to determine what is what within a page. Finally, you have the reading preferences. First part of reading preferences helps students who have difficulty in reading, a page full of letters and numbers. So it introduces line focus, which allows you to go through lines one by one while dimming the rest of the screen, so that it's easier to kind of go through different lines and read them one by one. So I can read each line at a time, click on scroll down, and kind of go through that process one by one. Of course, line focus can either be one line at a time, 3 lines at a time, or 5 lines at a time. If your text is a little bit smaller, you can turn on the 5 lines at a time as well. So students can start, of course, with the 1 line at a time, and then once they get used to that, they can try 3 lines and then 5 lines, and then maybe turn off line focus altogether, depending on their level. Next feature we have is picture dictionary, and this basically allows students who maybe have trouble in reading, in understanding a certain language to be able to relate pictures to that word visually. So as an example, if I go to, if I click on energy, for example, it'll show me a picture of what energy is. If I click on chemical, it doesn't work for all words. I was just trying that out. Let's see if it, we already tried energy. If you try plants, it'll show you an actual plantation or actual plants. So, so this pretty much helps the students in just trying out different words here. This is a very technical text, so maybe you won't find a lot of those, but especially for the younger students going through a simple kind of block of text, it's easier for them to be able to see different parts of it. The last feature is translate, and this helps for just students who maybe English isn't their first language, or maybe they're great with English but they're not very good with Arabic, and they would like to kind of learn a new language because they take an Arabic course. There's a ton of different languages here to select from, but you'll be able to see that you can actually, for example, for Arabic, select that I want to translate to Arabic, and you can translate either by word or by document. So if I choose to translate by document, it'll actually translate the whole document from from English to Arabic on your screen. If the text is in Arabic, it allows you to change it to English, and you can flip between the original text in English and the translated text in Arabic and kind of relate the different words used. Now this, of course, is by document. If you turn it on by word only, then you're able to click on a specific word. It'll show you the word in English. You can play it. It'll show you the word in Arabic, and you can play it as well. So you can play the audio of that word in Arabic as well, and the student can kind of relate the two different languages throughout the page. If you have picture dictionary open as well, and let's say you click on energy, it shows you all 3 components. So the word in one language, the word in the second, and then a picture of that word itself. So this really helps students in kind of visualizing what words are and understanding how translation works between 2 different languages. If we look at the translated part, it works the same way. So if I click on this word, which is tahwil in Arabic, means convert, it shows you the word in English. Kimiyaiya, which is chemical in Arabic, you can see it in English as well. So I highly recommend that you go through this depending on what, let's say, nationalities your students are from, or maybe what they find difficult to, or if they have a certain difficulty with a certain language. And I'm sure that you'll find that this kind of helps them in learning the language a lot easier, especially with the whole noun, verb, adjective, adverb components on the page. And as you can see, it keeps these components for the Arabic translation as well. So you can see, even in Arabic, what's a noun, what's a verb, and what's an adjective, and what's an adverb. So you're able to try this out on your own and see how it all works. So Immersive Reader works from here. Again, if you open any document, it's just view and then Immersive Reader. If you are within Teams itself, what a lot of you may not notice is you can do the same for actual text within Teams. So if you send a message to your students in a certain language and you want them to, that's maybe not their first language, and you want them to be able to kind of go through it and maybe provide some feedback, students can click on the triple dot at the top right of the message, and they'll find an Immersive Reader button there. Once they click on that button, it'll again open Immersive Reader with the whole block of text, but it will also include the name of the person who posted it, the time, the date, and whatnot, and you can and students can kind of go through that whole piece from their own devices as well. So we're trying to expand Immersive Reader a lot. As of right now, Immersive Reader is available within Teams, within online documents, within forums, and within Minecraft Education Edition as well, if that's something that your kids in the class use. So that's the second component I wanted to go through. The third component is adding apps. So if your organization allows it, there is a button at the bottom left of the screen called Apps, and clicking on this button provides a ton of different apps for you to access. These are apps which you can add onto Teams and then you can use within your channel. So as a quick example, if I want to add a Forms app to the page, I can click on this Microsoft Forms app within Teams. It looks like I've already installed it. You just click on install here. After the process is done, it'll be available directly within the teams that you work with. So if I go to this team and let's say I would like to post a poll for people to be able to answer, you'll see that down below I have a Forms app. If I click on this Forms app, it opens up a page that gives me the ability to post a poll for students to access. For example, are you enjoying this session? Yes and no. And it also suggests options for you to be able to add if you would like. So yes, no, maybe. And then I can pretty much post that within the page itself. And it'll be available within the chat. So students can pretty much answer this kind of small form from within the page itself, and they'll be able to and you'll be able to see all the results within the page. Again, this is just an example of one app that you can use. I suggest that you kind of play around with different apps. Again, you can access this from the bottom left of Teams, from the apps page, and then you can search for apps here. The one that I've just added is just called Forms. Okay, so I'm kind of running out of time, but I wanted just to share with you two more things. First of all, if you own a team, you can manage your team yourself, and there are a lot of settings which you can pick from. So you have the team name here. Clicking on the triple dot menu next to the team allows you to access the team settings page by clicking on Manage Team. And clicking on this will allow you to see the members, of course. What we're interested in is the settings page. So clicking on the settings page allows you to access a lot of different settings which you can turn on or off. I don't have time to go through them right now, but I highly suggest that you go through them because there are certain levels of control which I think a lot of teachers would welcome. The last update that I wanted to go through before handing over to Matt is new updates that are coming. So one of the biggest updates which is coming to Teams, and I cannot give you a date on this, but this is something that's currently being tested and will hopefully roll out soon, is within your online meetings, instead of having a maximum of 9 people, you'll be able to have, which is currently the case, you can have 9 people on the screen at the same time. This will change to allow you 49 people at the screen at the same time. So it's going to be a 7x7 matrix. So you can pretty much have your whole class online, especially if they're taking, an online exam, and you can kind of monitor that from where you're sitting. Ask all students to turn on their camera, and you can kind of see how they're all working on content together. So again, this is, I think, the biggest update that's coming. We are working on a lot of other features, such as Insights, which has been released, but maybe we'll cover it within the next session. I think this is the biggest feature I wanted to share with you because I've received a ton of different requests on this from a lot of different teachers because they want to monitor their whole class and have an interactive environment, and it's finally coming soon. So I'll return later on to cover a few more components during this specific session. I think I have about maybe 5 or 10 minutes at the end of the session. For now, I'm going to hand over to Matt to go through a few pieces of content.
Just to talk about the methods of some form of assessment here within Teams. So looking through this, I kind of came up with the idea that we've obviously got that idea of formative and summative assessment, and I think most people when they started using Teams gravitated straight towards the assignment tool. I know certainly that I did, and found myself pretty quickly with hundreds of pieces of work coming in every week that I then kind of felt compelled to mark fully and provide some form of comment and feedback for each and every single piece of work that a student was completing for me. There is one really easy way to be able to give very rapid feedback out in terms of an assignment. So if we're talking from the summative point of view, I've got a sample assignment here that my test account has handed in for me. And it's a really simple piece of text that they've added in. But as a part of the essay, I set the assessment method as a rubric. And by setting a rubric, which I'll show you how to set that up in a couple of minutes, but by setting a rubric up, when I come into actually marking this assessment, I'm able to work my way through the 4 categories that I've set in terms of content, understanding, original thinking, structure, and grammar. And I'm able to assign pre-arranged points based on how comprehensive their answer is to fit within that. So for this particular, I'm going to say that for content, they've scored excellent, understanding good, original thinking will go with good, structure fair, and grammar, let's say excellent. It then adds up based on a percentage of the overall marks what the score is for that pupil. So this is self-grading it for me, and the pupil's able to see each one of these categories. So as they're working their way through this, they're able to see what they need to satisfy to get each mark boundary, and you are able to quite simply work your way through the assignment and click by selecting which grade point they've met. The marking is then done for you. If you want to leave a more personalised comment or an individual comment, you have the general feedback button available for you down here, and you can leave any sort of general comment that the student will see that is holistically about their whole piece of work. If you wish to then go further and provide really tailored feedback on specific parts of their assignment, you can edit the document, and if you then come into Edit in Browser, you're able then to assign comments to specific areas of text. So you can highlight a piece of text, right click, and then add a comment in. And you're then able to attribute that comment to a specific part of their text if you want to make a specific comment about what they're writing in this particular area. Once you're happy, you can close the document, and then you can return that piece of feedback to the student once you're happy. And those marks have been pre-populated without you even really having to go in and actually add any of that up yourself. To take a look at the rubric and how we construct it, if I edit the assignment, you can see that when I've set this up, one of the options on the right-hand side of the points available is to add in a rubric, and I've created an essay-based rubric here, and if I click on this, I can see all of my categories and the points that they have assigned to them. I'm able to create a new rubric quite easily. If I remove this one, which it appears it will take a while, if I just create a new assignment from here. I can add a rubric in, and I can select either an existing rubric, which is my new one, so my essay-based one here, or I can click New Rubric. When I create a new rubric, I then have the options to add in the description of a particular category, and then add in the criteria that I would like for poor, fair, good, or excellent. You can change each one of those criteria if you like, and you can add more criteria in across for columns and extra categories in coming down the rows here. So you can really start to hone in and make a very quick and easy way to mark individual pieces of work. Moving on from there, I suppose really the easiest way to give any sort of feedback is to work more on formative feedback. And formative feedback for me tends to happen in the actual channel itself. So I'm quite happy for students to submit their work that I don't want to mark in a summative way straight into the channel, and from there I start to encourage the students to comment on each other's piece of work and really just get them to start to do a lot of that hard work for me. This works quite nicely for all the students, but if you want to try and tailor this in, where you have your team name, if you click on the ellipsis next to that and add channel, you can add a private channel in if you wish. So within the privacy, you can select a private channel, assign it some details, and on the next screen, you'll be able to assign certain members of the class to join into this private channel, effectively creating some grouped work. So if you want students to peer assess or to give some peer feedback to try and remove that onus on you to give individualized feedback to every piece of work, private channels are a really great way to start to put students to be able to collect their work together in small teams and to be able to peer assess from within there. Finally, I think probably the two easiest ways to gain some assessment for learning and to gain really easy pieces of individualized feedback links into something that Basil showed earlier on in his presentation, and that's being able to create a poll. So I won't go further into that because Basil's already shown us how to create a poll, but creating a poll as a part of a channel is an easy way to be able to get some form of exit information or to create some form of really quick and easy assessment for the learning of students within a particular part of a lesson. Secondary to that is the opportunity to be able to create forms within a video in stream. So if I just change So if you're running within Microsoft's Streams option here, one of the other options that you have within a video that you've uploaded is to click this interactivity tab. And when you select the interactivity tab, you can add a form into your video. So when you click add form, you can create a new form or you can paste in an existing form. And from within that, you can then start to put questions that are tagged to specific points of your timeline on your video. So if you've pre-recorded a lesson material or you've created a resource that students can watch in their own time, you can place in there questions that occur at specific points in the video to allow your students to answer questions and give you some form of assessment of how they're learning as the lesson's carrying on. Another really useful way to use those forms away from a formal assignment or something that's handed in as a part of a longer form or a quiz. This is a quick and easy way to gain some simple understanding as students are watching the lesson content. It's also a really useful technique to make sure they're actually engaging with the content, because you can see who's responding and therefore who's not watching the videos that you've prepared. That's about all I've got for you, so I'm happy to pass back over to Neil here so he can start his run of the presentation.
Thanks, Matt and Basil. Sorry, I had a technical difficulty before, but I just wanted to take a moment to pause before we go to Neil, just to reassure everybody, if this is very fast, obviously Basil and Matt are, excellent when it comes to Teams, but don't worry, you can watch this back, pause it, replay, go through it, so that will all be available to you. I'd encourage you to use the Q&A option within this event. We are replying to questions. If there's a question you would like answering that hasn't yet been answered, you can give it a thumbs up by clicking next to the question, and that will vote it up the process and tell us that you guys want to know that answer. The Immersive Reader, a very powerful tool going to be excellent for inclusion. English is an additional language, and other languages, obviously. So a great tool to look at there. So now I'm going to put Neil through. Over to you, Neil.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Nice to be joining you today. My name is Neil Statham, and I work at Hartland International School here in Dubai. And I'm going to be talking to you about some of the ways we've enhanced the student experience at school using Microsoft Teams, and some of it through Teams, some of it through Teams integrations and apps, which we've started to discuss today. So one of the first things I'm going to talk about is Flipgrid, which is something that we've used really successfully. So I'm going to start sharing some media for you, and I'll ask Ed if he can push it into the live feed for me. Fantastic. So Flipgrid is part of your Microsoft package, if you like. It integrates fully with everything that you do in Microsoft Teams, and you can see the web login for it right here. And even just by scrolling through it, you can get like a flavor of the kind of things that Flipgrid does. And it's something that we've used really successfully to enhance the experience for our students. And I think something that's key to enhancing the student experience, so we're always trying to keep things fun, keep them engaging, but keep them easy to use and easy to find. So another great thing about Flipgrid is that it integrates fully within Teams. So whether they're on laptop, desktop, or app, they're able to use it without traveling to multiple different places. So once you've logged into Flipgrid, you're going to find yourself with a little bit of a page that looks something like this, and you can see different Flipgrids that you've created. So I'm going to show you in true Blue Peter fashion some ones that we made earlier, and I'm going to show you how you might want to make up your own. So to give you a bit more of an idea about what Flipgrid actually is, it's a tool that you can use to develop student answers outside of just writing or typing. So here you can see, here's an example of a Flipgrid topic where students have been given a task as part of GCSE PE, and they've been asked to research an answer and explain it as well. So they've been set a task, and then the students will return an answer for you. So it's helping them to explain, to verbalize, which is going to, as we know, is going to deepen their understanding. So I've not got the audio on here, but you can see the students are able to record a video, and they're able to explain and present answers in different ways. So we've got a great example here of levers being explained GCSE PE, and if you like it, you can choose to share it with other students so they can see, and that kind of touches on what Matt was saying about students commenting on each other's work. You're also able to add feedback directly to the students. So you can see here some really detailed feedback which has been given by the teacher. Of course, you can use a rubric like Matt says. It's also got a fantastic feature where you can share feedback by video as well. So when the student sends you a video of their work, or they discuss or present an idea to you, you can send a video straight back to them. And again, you can choose to share that with other people. We've not just used this in lessons, we've used this for reader. Oh, I'm sorry, a shout out for Basil here as well. You can see the immersive reader icon here within Flipgrid too. So you've got that option for tasks to be read out. We've used this for whole school events and initiatives, which really had a lot of successful buy-in from students. So one of the things we did was our school talent show. So it's something that's always a popular event, and we actually managed to run the whole event through Flipgrid. So students were able to upload different videos of their talents, and you can see here just in the auditions phase, if you like, there were 67.9 hours of shared learning, which might not seem like a lot, but when you think that this was across 2.5 to 3 minute videos, there's a lot of content that's gone in there. And when we've been able to share it, we've been able to set different videos and different permissions for different houses like you would in your school talent show. So students have been able to return videos of their talents and things like that, and then we've been able to let other students watch it and use Microsoft Teams and Microsoft Forms to allow them to vote. So we've tried to recreate as much of that school experience as possible. And how you set it up, it's super easy. You literally just go to your add grids here, and if you've got concerns about safety or security with videos or anything like that, you can authenticate it straight away. So if we do a test here, and you can authenticate it with your school email tag. So once you've set that up, it means that only people who log in with your school email who have got access to the Flipgrid will be able to use it. So you've kind of got belts and braces security there. If you have more than one domain name you want to use, you can add it in there, but it knows that our school domain name is at hartlandinternational.com. So only people that log in from that domain are going to be able to use it. And you can see straight away, you've got an option to link to Microsoft Teams. So we'll copy that and we'll come back to that later on. Once we go to our grid, we're ready to go. We can start to add new topics to it with different types of questions. So we might want to add an English lesson, perhaps a character response to something. It could be asking them to act out something for drama. We've got the option to set the length of recording. So if it's as many of something as you can do in a certain time, we can moderate it. So if you're worried about content that students might share, you can stop it from going live to other students to see until you allow it to do so. In your more options, you've also got the chance to include other media here to inspire the students, and you can launch different start and freeze dates. There are also, for you to explore, lots of different things that students can do. A great function here is that if they're presenting information to you, they can add a sticky note on the screen to give them some prompts. They can attach other work or links to things they've done. And you can change the amount or the level of feedback that you want to give them. And like I was saying, it mixes really well with Teams. Just quickly as well, in the Disco library, Flipgrid also has a wonderful global community of ideas that other educators have shared. So there's a great chance that anything that you're looking for, someone has already made it, already shared it. So you can have a look at Flipgrid tasks and ideas that are already there. When it comes to sharing it in your team, it's super easy. When we just need to click on add a tab, like Basil was showing us before. Hopefully my internet is going to work for us, and it's going to let me add in Flipgrid. Yes, it is, and I can see it there. I add Flipgrid to our team, and that Flipgrid code that I copied earlier on, I'm just going to paste it in there and press save, and then straight away in my team, in our general channel, any students that want to use Flipgrid, when they click on it, will just be taken to that login page, and Flipgrid is going to launch inside Teams for them there. I'm going to just show one other quick add-on that I've discovered today, which I tell you what, I wish I'd discovered this at the start. But I talked about Poly briefly last time as a method of assessment, which obviously I'm still a massive advocate of. There's also Agile Poly, which you can use to create stand-ups and recurring questions, which might help you out for attendance if you want students to get a rolling start, or if you want to auto-schedule something to take attendance for you or to ask something every day, then Agile Poly is a great tool. If I add an Agile Poly here, it will take me, again, it'll take me a few seconds, and I enter the name of the team I want it to be. I put the message, so it might be, please check in. It's going to the general. It's a recurring message. In the UAE, we work Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we have Friday, Saturday off. And I want it to come on every day, and I want it to come on at this time in the morning. And then I want to close it after an hour. So there's an hour opportunity for people to log in. They get a reminder 1 minute before it closes. I can see what the reminder is, and I can make it an open-ended question or a multiple choice, like, are you present today? Are you experiencing any problems with your internet? And then I can save it, and then that Agile Poly will schedule, and it will come in at the same time every day that I ask it to, and then I'll be able to review the results as it comes. So it might be something that you want to consider if you're collecting the same information of students every day, whether it's attendance, whether it's leaving lessons, whether it's to get an alert that they've submitted an assignment if you're looking across lots of different teams. Ed, that about does it for me. So I'll stop sharing my screen, but I'll let you put yourself back into the live feed before I do.
Thank you very much, Neil. Agile Poly, I will be adding tomorrow for my register, constantly making posts for my register on my team. So definitely I've learned something here. Thank you very much. So we are now down to our last presenter. We're going to come back to Basil, and Basil's just going to outline for 5 to 10 minutes about some compliance things and a little bit of the IT admin side of Teams. This could be for things that you may not be able to do and you don't know why. It's probably to do with the IT admin. So Basil, I'm going to put you through. Basil, you're muted.
Of course, again. Thank you, everyone. I just wanted to talk very quickly about a few things or a few complaints sometimes that I get from teachers about certain functionality which they think, or they hear that it's available, but they don't know why it's not available for them. Or maybe it's something that they've never heard of, but something that could open up a lot of different possibilities for them when using Teams. So one thing that you have to know about Teams is everything is controlled by your school IT admin. Everything from accessing the chat menu to using GIFs within the text to being able to contact external users. So all of these things are controlled by the IT admin, and a lot of IT admins within schools decide to turn certain things off because of security reasons, because of privacy reasons, because maybe they don't want students to, maybe abuse a certain type of feature available within Teams. So I'm just going to share my screen very quickly, and not my email. Okay. I just wanted to share my screen very quickly and kind of go through some of the features which can be turned on or off for certain organizations. So what you see here in front of you is the admin dashboard for Teams. So this is what your IT admin basically sees. And they have, as you can see from the left-hand side of the screen, a ton of different components which they can kind of play around with depending on what they would like to enable or disable. So one thing that you should know is there is, of course, as you probably already know, Teams does allow you in general to be able to contact users externally. So you're able to chat with other users externally. You're able to create meetings and invite external users to these meetings. They don't have to be in your organization. And that can all be accessed within the external access or guest access sections within the admin center. Again, a lot of IT admins decide to turn these off due to school regulations. But if there is an important scenario that you would like to enable that involves, let's say, external access, you can always reach out to your IT admin and have him or her turn that feature off for your account. So that's something that also you can probably consider. A few other features, some of the apps which we went over earlier, such as Flipgrid, such as in adding the Forms app. So IT admins also control these the apps which are available to users within their organization. So an IT admin can decide to, for example, block the Flipgrid app from being available to everyone. They can, decide to enable specific other apps that may not be used. So if you hear of an app that is available for someone else, but it's not necessarily available to you, reach out to your IT admin, and they can pretty much change that from within. I think it's from the team settings page. And they can pretty much turn these apps on or off. Some of the other features which I would like to talk about very quickly are meeting policies. Sorry, not meeting policies. Maybe it's messaging policy. Sorry. So what a lot of schools notice is, so you have the chat feature within Teams, which is right here, which enables people to kind of reach out to each other on a one-to-one basis, and then you have the actual Teams feature. So what a lot of schools do, and this is something you might want to do depending on how students interact within a classroom or interact using Teams, is IT admins can actually turn this chat feature off for students while still enabling it for teachers. And the main reason you would want to do this is if students are causing a lot of mischief because they're contacting other students they're not supposed to be contacting. This is something that you can do. You can turn the chat feature off for specific users or for students within the school and enable it for everyone else. An example of this is, of course, the Ministry of Education, which they have about 350,000 students, I believe, that are active on Teams. So what they've done in order to kind of control things a little bit is they've disabled the chat feature at the top left for students while enabling it for teachers. So teachers can still have one-to-one chat with each other, but not with the students, and students cannot have that one-to-one chat with each other either. Just so you know, disabling this chat feature does disable all one-to-one communication for that specific user. So even if teachers would like to reach out to a certain user, to a certain student that has the chat feature disabled, they won't be able to. So that's kind of, the trade-off that you get by disabling it. Yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to mention. Another small detail is a lot of we've been getting a lot of questions about the data center here in the UAE. So UAE does have a Microsoft data center. As of right now, it's not available for everyone because it takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of time to move content from our other data centers to the UAE one. The main reason why people ask about UAE data centers is they want their data to be stored here. If it's not a major concern for you, then that's fine. But if it is, just know that it does take some time for the UAE data center to start accepting other requests. And we have a long list already on that, but it's something we're working on. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it from my side.
Thank you very much, Basil. So that's our main presentations finished. We've been trying to answer your questions. So if you do have questions, we're here for another 5 minutes. I believe Basil will need to go in 2 minutes because he has another call. So please post those questions now. Also, I'm going to ask, Matt, would you be able to show everybody the help section within Teams and the section where teachers can go to vote for or suggest updates and upgrades within Microsoft Teams? Would you be happy to do that just off the cuff? I'm lumping you on you at the moment, but
yeah, sure. If you just give me 1 second just to get a couple of things set up, yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah. So let me know when you're ready. But for now, we'll just look at these questions. So I'll just rank them from the ones that have had the most votes, so I can go right to the top here. So Immersive Reader is also available in PowerPoint. So if you're using PowerPoint to deliver lots of your lessons and content and using that with students, Immersive Reader is available in PowerPoint as well. It is available in multiple languages. Angus asked about the Take the Test app, but we don't believe that is available within Microsoft Teams at the moment, and unfortunately no set dates for the 7x7 grid, but they're working on it, so it'll be with us soon. Matt, are you ready?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, just send me through.
You are on.
Okay, so within Teams, there's a little button just down towards the bottom right-hand corner of the, bottom left-hand corner of the screen that says Help. If you click on Help, this brings through for you a whole host of different options like topics and training and what's new. So when these features that Basil and Neil have been talking about that are upcoming, you can come into this menu and take a look. But the fourth option down is Suggest a Feature. And if you were to select Suggest a Feature, this opens up the website for user voice. So you come through to this web page here, and if you click on continue to use a voice, you will see this web page. And this essentially is where any feature that you would like to be incorporated into Microsoft can be mentioned and can be requested. And you can see here that there are the ability to vote. So there's loads of people that are quite active in this area, and they're putting up different features all of the time, which you can then vote against. So you can see here that this is a request for something that's more than 4 videos of participants. And if I wanted to say that that's a feature that I'd like, I can just click vote. I can type in my school email address and then click vote, and I'm able to register that that's a feature that I would like. There's plenty of feedback coming in from Microsoft as well. So the development team are listing when they're working on it, as it is on the second option down here, if they've partially rolled out the feature, and they start to give a little bit of feedback on what they're working on as well. If once you've had a look through here, the feature that you want still isn't mentioned, you can just start to type out that feature. So if you type out your query or the feature that you'd like rolled out, it'll at first present you with some alternatives that it thinks people might have tried to suggest this feature once already. And if they don't still match what you're looking for, then you can formalize your request and click submit, and that will then submit it to the community for wider testing. If Basil's still on the call, he might be able to give an insight as to whether the development team only go for options that are more highly voted, or whether they just take things on their own merits. But that's the general mechanic as to how this works.
Thank you, Matt. I'm afraid Basil's had to leave. Ironically, someone started his meeting without him being there, which is a problem for all of us at school as well. So we hope you found that useful. The section Matt just showed you, I went on there the other day, voted for a few things, and you also get updates from Microsoft as they move that up the scale, or it's coming closer to being developed. So it is a good way for you to get involved with the development of Microsoft Teams. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for Neil, for Basil, and for Matt for presenting today and preparing everything. Really appreciate that. And keep in touch with us through Twitter. We posted our handles earlier on the announcements. I'll announce on there where the recording is going to be found. I believe I'm going to add it to the DXBPE YouTube channel with the other one, but Microsoft may also want to post this webinar elsewhere. All right, but thank you very much for joining us, and have a lovely week.